George, Steve Lee from Sky Sports News. What was the reaction, really, of the Australian team to more disappointing news about Michael Clarke this morning?
We haven't really discussed it as a group. I mean, it's something I guess we've been preparing for. I don't think Pup was ever going to come in and play a game without having trained. So the fact that he hadn't rejoined the group as of yesterday, I think everyone assumed what was going on.
How badly do you miss him, do you think?
As we missed him last game, he's our captain and our best batsman, so we miss him every time he's not with us. But as any team does, when you got your best players out, the challenge is for someone to step up and fill the hole, or numerous people to step up and fill the hole. There's probably an easy way to cover him.
It's been a long-standing injury. It's a degenerative back injury, and I saw him down at Cirencester on Sunday. He was walking quite sort of stiffly. Do you think there's no chance of him playing in this Champions Trophy? And what about the Ashes to follow?
I'm not qualified. I'm no good at backs, so I've got no idea what he's going through. My understanding is he's still just trying to fix it day by day. Having played with him in the past, there's times when it does just suddenly free up and he's right to go again, and then there's other times that it obviously takes longer. So, as you said, it's an issue that he's had a while. Pup knows how to deal with it as best as anyone. So he's not going to make any silly decisions, and he knows the summer that's coming up as well.
Let's deal with the New Zealand game. Have you got that England defeat out of the system, do you think?
I hope so, yeah. I mean, there's no point carrying that into the New Zealand game. We'll get nowhere there. So we addressed some issues and we'll address them again in some meetings this afternoon, just in terms of preparing for this game. I wasn't unhappy with the way we bowled and fielded. I think there's always things you can improve and things you can do differently, but I think it was the batting that probably let us down. And even looking back at that, I think England bowled particularly well, and to change that game, it really is one person stepping up, one partnership, and that game can be turned on its head.
Conditions may have changed a bit from the weekend. We've had a bit of rain, a bit of mist, dark clouds. Will that affect your tactics or the way you bowl, do you think?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, the weather and the pitch and all those things always come into how you're going to attack any game, how you're going to line your team up, whatever that may be.
And the reverse swing that the English bowlers were getting, I mean, are you hoping to replicate that?
Always, yeah. I mean, the reverse swing's great skill. I think it's probably one of the greatest skills that a bowler can have in one-day cricket. So if you can find a way to replicate that, then that's certainly something we'll be trying to do.
Mate,
anyone? I didn't know anyone else was here.
Yeah, no, I just popped in. This is probably the first time New Zealand have gone in as favourites against Australia. How does that feel? Generally we're the bigger brother. This time they've got maybe the better team in better form.
Yeah, absolutely. They're in good form. I think their one-day cricket's been pretty consistent for a number of years, so certainly never to be taken lightly. As to favourites, there's only two of us in it, so I'm not that fussed either way where we stand or where we're priced and that sort of stuff. So it's just a matter of us going out and doing what we do well, and particularly when you aren't playing well, the tendency can probably be to focus too much on the opposition or what they do well or their strengths or whatnot. But I think for us to get back to playing our best cricket and get back to where we want to be, it's really about focusing a bit more internally, making sure we do the things that we want to do well. And batting's a good example of that, because I think the challenge is when you've had a couple of poor batting performances is that guys start to doubt their place in the team or their role within the team. And what we want our guys to do is to go out and have that absolute clarity, that real freedom to bat the way that we know they bat. And that's different from how Shane Watson and David Warner bat to how Adam Voges and George Bailey bat. But to make sure that they go out and they're not too worried about who they're playing, it's just a matter of focusing on them playing as well as they can.
George, does past record matter in these games? Obviously, New Zealand haven't beaten Australia in the last 750 over ICC tournament games. Despite the situation, will that have any sort of bearing?
None. Absolutely none. Because when we start, the conditions will be different pitch, different tournament, different teams. There's no bearing. I think teams take some bearing out of how they're playing at the moment and the confidence they have. But once again, that can change so quickly in what is such an individual team sport. One person stepping up and changing the game can lift a team.
And you as a skipper must be really looking forward to Mitchell Johnson's performance, because over the years he has been really a thorn in New Zealand's flesh. He has in the last 5 games, he has taken 15 wickets against them.
Oh, that's excellent news. Yeah, I was looking for. I thought Mitch bowled really well in the last game. Really happy with his pace. Gave him the new ball, which I thought he responded really well to. And I think if he is bowling well, it's a great thing for our team because his aggression is very easy to match in the field. You know, when he's bowling well, as you said, he's a wicket taker and he can change the course of a game in a number of balls right throughout the innings, and that's obviously some pretty important traits.
Having seen the way spinners have bowled, particularly up here, have you given thought to maybe giving Xavier a go or utilising more of your other spin options?
Yep, looking at all those particularly, I think we're on the same wicket as was played on yesterday, South Africa Pakistan game. So obviously a worn wicket, and on the back of what we saw in our game against England.
George, with Michael obviously pulling up injured, and you sort of been thrust into this captaincy role, is this one of the challenges of your career really to get this Australia team back on track?
Yeah, I'm not lumping it on my lonesome though. I mean, that's what a whole part of being a team is. I'm enjoying the captaincy side of things, and particularly enjoying working with some of our younger players or less experienced players, and some of them, I think it's their first major tournament too. So working through all those pressures and things that they have to go through. But whether Pup's here or not, or whoever the captain is, the goal of Australian cricket I don't think changes, and the goal of the management team and all the players within it's always going to be to win and to be playing our best cricket.
George, the Chapel Hadley Trophy has fallen by the wayside a little bit the last few years. Is there any thought to putting up for this game?
To putting up
the trophy for this game, the Chapel Hadley?
That's the first I've heard of it.
No.
Not sure.
Okay.
I don't really personally. I'm not sure that that's applicable within a tournament. I think once you're within a tournament, that's probably goal enough.
Yeah, just one final one from me. Some of the reaction you've got from the English press about the way you performed at the weekend was not very encouraging. Have you been hurt by that, saying that the side lacks a better fight?
English press?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we take everything, we read everything they write, and we take it all very, very seriously. And they're privy to everything we do, so we take it with a pinch of salt, I reckon, would be the response there. The loss hurt us as much as more than anyone. We don't want to be losing to England. We don't want to be losing to anyone. But more so than the loss, I think the challenge is to be playing our best cricket, and that's something that I keep getting back to, is the gap between our best and our worst cricket, and making sure that we try and keep that gap as small as possible. So whether it's England, New Zealand, whoever we might be playing, the focus really isn't ever on the opposition that much. It's more on us doing everything we can to make sure we're winning.
New Zealand's bowling is doing pretty well, in particular Mitchell McLanigan. He hasn't played against Australia yet, so have you had a look at him, or is he part of the plans to talk about?
Yep. Yeah, we've talked about him, and I guess the advantage of having seen him play those 3 games against England prior to this game, prior to this tournament, and then watching him the other day too. So he's obviously posing some challenges with the new ball. He's getting some nice shape at some nice pace too. So his record's pretty good for someone who hasn't played too much international cricket. So certainly someone that we'll look at, as we will all their bowlers.
George, you just mentioned Mitch, but do you mind sort of going through a few of the other threats you see from the New Zealand side?
I think both their opening bowlers have been in pretty good touch. Kyle Mills is shaping the ball, and I guess a bit of a one-day stalwart for New Zealand. And Dan Vettori is always someone that we will respect pay the utmost respect to, and play him really watchfully. But picking, as everyone said, I think they all bowl pretty well. They're in pretty good touch. I think they're a pretty good one-day side, and they're playing some really consistent cricket. They're not relying too heavily on any one player, I think, which is always the key.
George, Australia won the last 2 Champions Trophies, but they are a bit down these days, So how important is it for you and your team to do well in the Champions Trophy to sort of revive the team's fortunes?
I think you've just answered your own question. Yeah. I mean, we're not playing the cricket we'd like to play. Probably the best way to get over that would be to win this tournament. And I think we only lost the first game thus far, so it's not. We're not at panic stations just yet.